In 2015, Chinese regime leader Xi Jinping launched a major policy initiative called the One Belt, One Road, which would invest trillions of dollars in infrastructure into the lesser developed countries in Central Asia to link China to Europe. And there would be two parts to this project: the Maritime Silk Road, going past India to Europe in the Mediterranean, and then the One Belt Silk Road, which would go through the vast landmass of Central Asia, through the Kazakhstans and Kyrgyzstans, and link China to Europe there. And the project would involve 65 countries, and the numbers to invest had been estimated as high as 5 trillion. So why would the Chinese do this? Why would they spend trillions of dollars essentially helping less developed countries like Kyrgyzstan and Pakistan and develop their infrastructure? They have primarily two reasons. The first is to boost export and trade through A, building up the infrastructure, and then B, later, once it's up and running, to export Chinese goods to these countries. The second reason is political. If China controls the infrastructure and if it helps develop the country, it will have more political influence and can pressure the countries to make certain decisions in China's favor. However, there are so many problems with the program that it will likely fail completely, especially when measured against its objectives, or end up just being much, much smaller in scope. So we are talking billions of dollars, not trillions of dollars. So the first problem is all of those projects are very high risk. Why? Because the most desolate countries in Central Asia, especially Kyrgyzstan, Pakistan, Afghanistan, they have the worst infrastructure. But why? Because they have the worst macroeconomic conditions. They have got low development, bad institutions, corruption, low education. That's why nobody went there to invest in the first place. So that makes all of those countries very high risk. And where do you get the money for these high-risk projects? So China has lost about $1 trillion in foreign exchange reserves, which they cannot use anymore to fund those projects. The second option would be to tap the international bond markets, which would push their external debt to GDP up to about 50%, making them vulnerable to shocks in a currency attack. And they would have to get those countries to pay them back with interest, which is highly unlikely given the track record, because one example is a dam project they have in Burma where nothing is moving since 2011 because the Chinese investors and the local government have a fallout. And if all projects are going to be like that, they will never get the money back. So when all is said and done, the whole project will be much, much smaller in scope, more like 300 billion, which Chinese international and national institutions have pledged to the project, not the 5 trillion that Xi Jinping has talked about or people have estimated. And the connection China to Europe via land, therefore, will probably not work out. Via sea, it's already connected. It makes sense to send a few ships to patrol against pirates at the coast of Somalia and to build a few ports in Africa and maybe Pakistan. But that will also never reach not even the 300 billion, let alone the 5 trillion. So when measured against its lofty objectives, the One Belt, One Road initiative will likely be a failure.